What is up, guys? Malcolm back again from Majestic Skies. And today I will be doing my first impressions review of the BTwin Riverside 120 hybrid bike. And this is a bike I bought at Decathlon in the Ottawa, Ontario area. I bought the medium size frame, which is suitable for people 5 foot 5 inches to 6 feet tall. This bike is equipped with an 8-speed changer using BTwin TS39 shifters. It has an 8-speed cassette, 1134 cogs, single chain wheel with 36 teeth, a chain with quick release, as well as a rear derailleur, which is a BTwin RD-M25, an anti-derailment frame. It has two front and rear V-brakes, which are just typical rim brakes, but in my experience they work quite well. It does also come equipped out of the box with a bell, as well as front and rear lights, which was definitely nice to see in this price range. Alright, so first impressions of the BTwin 120 are pretty good. It's a nice smooth ride. Seems to shift gears quite smoothly. Not really any big complaints there. I'm not like a bike expert, so I just want to make that perfectly clear. And this is definitely not a high-end bike at the price range, of course. So this bike ended up costing me around 260 Canadian. Should be, I don't know what that would be in American right now. All the prices fluctuating so rapidly, but it really is a bike for people that are just wanting something that's easy to ride, fun to cruise around town with, and people that don't have a massive commute. So overall I've been pretty impressed with this bike initially. It seems to do very well over the pavement. It is a hybrid bike, so it can handle some gravel, some rougher terrain, but overall it's designed as a city and a bike that should be driven on pavement 90% of the time. But the advantages of this bike design are quite obvious. Of course, over pavement it's going to be riding much smoother than a mountain bike would in these sort of conditions. So the advantage of that is you get a lot more speed and you get a lot more maneuverability, so that you can quickly kind of swing between obstacles and that sort of thing there. My biggest gripes with it overall were that the seat was a little bit uncomfortable and shifting gears was a little bit janky. So by that I mean that sometimes you would kind of downshift and it would just kind of have a little bit of a delay before it shifts gears. Overall it does have a fairly simple shifter mechanism, so it doesn't have two shifters as a lot of really cheap bikes do. So the advantage of that is it's very easy to shift gears, but I did notice that it has a bit of hesitation before it shifts, so it's not the perfect bike when it comes to that. But so there are some cheaper components on this. Out of the box though, this bike did perform fairly well, and I was pretty impressed with this bike. It is a very bare bones unit, so it doesn't come with a kickstand or anything. I ended up having one added. And it kind of, it's just kind of a nice convenience feature. I had a kickstand and had a water bottle holder put in. And that, just those two things really made this bike feel a lot more kind of practical and day-to-day use.
So bad. Terrible.
It does have a steel frame, so not the lightest out there. However, I didn't find this bike was extremely heavy or anything like that. So despite enthusiasts maybe giving you a hard time over driving a steel frame bike, it honestly performs fairly well. Decathlon does have a lot of aluminum frame bikes that perform obviously a lot better than this one, but they end up costing close to $500, or well, at least $500 or more in Canadian dollars. So not something that all of us can afford. Now with this bike, I have actually been able to commute on it around 40 minutes each way, and it does really well. Honestly, I haven't had too many issues with it. It is a bike that you can definitely kind of buy and start using right away, and it's good to go. I do anticipate that some things will probably break down the line. This is not a long-term review. I do want to stress that. This is a first impressions review of this bike. But out of the box and right out of the shop, after the guys at the shop set it up, it does run very well. It really does. And compared to buying a used bike and having to deal with all sorts of issues, this bike is actually a very good start. The frame is solid on it, and it's very comfortable to ride. One of the things I noticed is the seat position does allow it to be a little bit lower than a lot of bikes. A lot of road bikes, you'll see the seat needs to be up really, really high, and for us tall guys, it can be quite uncomfortable riding a bike with the seat up that high. Of course, there's ways to sometimes raise the handlebars and that kind of thing, but just out of the box, this bike felt really practical for my use. I could lower the seat right down for my tall stature, and it was very comfortable. Could just cruise around town and have a great time. So I would describe this bike as a hybrid between a cruiser and a city bike. So it's really ideal for if you're cruising around a city, you're not driving extremely long distances. You're mostly just kind of cruising, within maybe 40 to 50 minutes of, basically 40 to 50 minutes at a time. But it's a really great bike, honestly, and I feel like with some upgrades down the line, you could have a really, really solid bike here that could last a long time. Just pretty impressive for the price. I'm definitely not a bike expert. I'm not an enthusiast cyclist. I was actually impressed with it. It is difficult up hills, as most bikes are. It's a little bit exhausting, kind of racing up hills. You can see me passing a few people actually, but trust me, it's a challenge up hills. But it does do it. You can shift into really low gears and be able to power up hills, which is nice. And it handles all of it. It's really not a bad bike. You will get a good workout if you're going up a lot of hills, but it's not bad. It's doable. Certainly an aluminum frame would probably be a lot better. Definitely be a lot lighter up and easier to climb up those hills. But for what it was, this bike definitely did the trick. I don't have too many complaints about it. Other than that, from there, it's going to take us to the conclusion of this video, where I'll kind of summarize the strengths and weaknesses of this bike. So some of the biggest strengths of this bike, of course, are the price. The price is very, very affordable for this bike. We're looking at just a little bit more than kind of your entry-level Walmart, Canadian Tire, or kind of your big box, very, very cheaply built bikes go. And for that extra little bit of price, you're getting a much higher quality bike. It's certainly not high-end. Don't get me wrong, this is a very budget bike. But out of the box, it's pretty much ready to go. And you can cruise around town. You can go on some great adventures. Definitely don't buy this bike if you're going to be driving on a lot of gravel or a lot of rougher road. But if you're mostly on the pavement as a city bike, this thing is solid. You can definitely cruise some pretty decent distances. There are definitely some additions that I would probably make. As you guys saw, I added the kickstand as well as a rear bag for the saddle, as well as a water bottle holder. But as it is, you're pretty much ready to go out of the box, so you really can't fault it too much. Other than that, like I said, the seat is a little bit uncomfortable, and the gear shifts aren't the smoothest. I can definitely see the pedals and the gears needing some fixing up over time, and likely some components replaced, a couple years down the line. But as it is, the bike is really solid, and Decathlon is apparently very good about, basically warrantying items. So if the bike kind of has any issues down the line, I'm sure they'll be able to help me out, which is a lot more than you can say about the kind of a Walmart bike or a Canadian Tire bike. There's not going to be any support for something like that, right? So if those really cheap bikes break down on you, you don't really have any sort of support on that. But overall, first impressions, I would probably give this bike an 8 out of 10. Really can't fault it very much. It's probably one of the best bikes you can get for the price. Like I said, I only spent around $300 Canadian after tax. And really, that's very hard to beat for price. Other than that, I do thank you guys very much for watching this video. And if you do want to follow my channel and stay up to date with all the exciting adventures I go on a daily basis, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with my content. I have a lot more big adventures coming for this channel, such as a lot of cycling around the Ottawa area, as well as kayaking and fishing videos. And I hope you have a great day, friends.